Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about migrating an Exchange Online mailbox. So a normal user mailbox, we're going to migrate that into the mail for a Microsoft group, which is also associated with Teams. It's an interesting migration because it's not exactly a common one, but it is one that happens from time to time. If you've got a normal mailbox, you might have had that for like a team or sales as a single mailbox, or somebody that might have left the company. And you want to convert that over and migrate the mail into a Microsoft group, effectively giving it a team, giving it a data source, and giving it access for everybody so they can get into that mailbox and obviously respond and read in that sort of shared effort. So as I say, a particular unique scenario to happen, but it does happen in migrations. So let's see how we might set up that migration effort in the Migration Wiz product and get that data across. Now, when we set up this project, I'm just going to refer back to the Help Center article here, and you can see it talks about Exchange Online mailbox to a Microsoft 365 Groups mailbox. And if we look through here, we've got different prereqs. Really, essentially what we're doing with the prereq is we'd need to set up the application registration on both the source and the target tenant, apply the admin account that will then obviously work and connect to the tenants, and with no multi-factor authentication on that particular account as well. So we're going to create those on both sides, and then we're going to go into the console itself and perform that migration. You'll be able to see it go from one to the other. So looking at the source here, you can see I've got a user, Oswaldo Bird at cozymouse.com. It's a standard user mailbox, as you can see there, with just a small amount of data in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 365 group on the target side called Oswaldo, and we will then perform that migration. So you can see this is the data we're expecting to come across. And if we look in the target tenant, you can see I've got one here. I'm just calling it Oswaldo Group Mailbox. It is oswaldo.bird at Migration Frog, and you can see that is a proper Microsoft 365 group. And looking now at the group mailbox inside the Outlook session for Bob, as you can see Bob Jones Migration Frog. This is the target. This is where these mails are going to end up inside this Oswaldo Group mailbox once we perform this migration. So the configurations are slightly different between the source and the tenant, because the source is just a pure mailbox. So we're going to go through the requirements to set that up, the application registration for a mailbox. And then in the target, we've got to do it slightly differently because it is going to be a group migration. So it has to have access to groups themselves, which requires the application registration to be very slightly different. So as you can see here, this is the article that we're referring to. If I go up to the top here, Exchange Online to 365 Groups, but if I come down here and just have a look through at the requirements, this is the item you want to click on. And you can see here it talks about how to set up that, that application registration as we go through and through here. So I'm going to take you through that on the Cozy Mouse, the source tenant right now, and we'll get this one done, and then we'll move across to the target side. So inside application registrations, which is in the Entra ID, which is under identity, let me just show you that here. If I'm in this menu, I will go down to identity, and that will drop me into Entra ID, and I want to be looking at app registrations here, and then I'll be clicking on all applications and then starting a new one, and we'll call this one I'll put I like to put the date in there sometimes just so we know when it was created, and I'll hit register there. Then we need to go to the authentication and turn on the public flows, as you can see, and hit save. And then under API permissions, we need to add a permission in here. We're going to add two in here. We're going to go firstly to APIs my organization uses, and if you start typing in Office, you get the list here, which will give you the Exchange Online, which what we want. Now we need to do a delegated permission, which is going to be the EWS, and turn that on. And we also need to do the application permissions as well, which is this one, full access as app, and we say add permissions. That will drop in here, to which point we need to say grant the admin consent and say yes, and that will then give us our tick boxes here. Now we do need to go into the certificates and secrets, and we will add a client secret. This is kind of like a password for it. So we'll put Migration Wiz here, but when it expires, hit add, and that will give us our value, which we will copy to clipboard, we need that very shortly when we set up the application registration inside the Migration Wiz console. Now the other thing we need to capture is under the overview. We need to grab the application ID or the client ID. Let's put that to clipboard as well. And lastly, the directory or the tenant ID needs to come across as well. So we'll grab that one too. Put that in our notepad for later on. Now we've also got a little service account here. You can see the migwiz at cozymouse.com. That is the account that we'll be using for the connection to the tenant as well. So make sure you've got that and the password. And also remember that it can't have MFA turned on with that. So you're going to need to go into your conditional access policies and exclude that service account from the MFA requirement. So give it a decent password is really what I'm suggesting there. Now on the target side, there's slightly less to do on that one. What we have to do here is we've created our application registration, as you can see inside the Migration Frog tenant. And I'm going to grab these items again that we've just got here, the client ID, which we'll need shortly, and also the directory or tenant ID. So we'll grab that as well. Now, authentication wise, it does require this to be set to yes, the public client flow, as did the previous one. But in the API permissions, all we need for this one is just the delegated permission for EWS to be installed there. Now with that done in the target, also remember that it does need that account as well, which is going to be, as you can see, active users. I should find here, there's the migwiz account. This one here, migwiz at Migration Frog. So a similar setup, we do need to have that set up as well. And again, MFA, like on the source tenant, needs to be removed. So now we're going to set up our project inside Migration Wiz. So we'll say create a new project, and it's going to be a mailbox project. And we'll give it a name and obviously the customer here, to which I've just called that Cozy Mouse Mailbox to group migration, and our customer is Cozy Mouse. Hit next step, and now we get to set up both the source and the destination endpoints. So we'll say we're going to have a new endpoint for this one. And we'll be choosing 365 as our source. And we need to put in that service account that we had previously, the migwiz at cozymouse.com. And after we hit add, it'll come into these items. And these are the items we collected earlier. And we put them into Notepad. So I'm just going to paste those in just quickly, like so, and I will hit next step, which will take us now into the destination settings. So we'll say new, and we'll name the endpoint like that. Now this time we'll choose Microsoft 365 Groups as our target. And now it's asking for an additional item, which is the URL. This is the SharePoint, the top level of the SharePoint for that particular tenant. So you can see I've got that in there, plus the admin account from the one we looked up earlier. So we'll hit add there, and it'll take us into needing the client ID and the tenant ID. Note that there is no secret required for this one. So once that's in, we hit next step, and it will allow us to save and go to the summary of the project. Now the fact that that goes through means it has been able to log on with those both accounts and check that they are good to go. So we'll hit save project now. And it'll take us into the screen where we get to add the items for the migration. Now we can do this a number of ways. We can use the quick add, the bulk add. We can even auto discover. In this particular example, I'm just going to put the quick add, and because we are just adding one mailbox. The bulk add, if you were to do that, you can see you can drop multiple items in the source and destination. You can even import from a CSV file as well, which is obviously handy. But if we just go back up here and go to a quick add, we can just add some single items and get this project underway. So I've added both the source and the destination addresses, and we hit save item and close. That'll take us back to our main project screen. So the first thing we're going to do is we will apply a license to this one. So we just hit the apply a UMB license. If you want to use the standard mailbox licenses, they can get picked up at the time of the migration. But in this example, I'm going to use a UMB license for it. I'm also going to hit start here, and I'm going to hit verify credentials. Now this is going to go away and make sure that the connections are good for the migration itself to work, and we'll wait for that one to come back and tell us that everything is okay. It's important we do that right at the start, just before we actually want to start migrations, just to make sure everything is going to go through correctly and going to work. So definitely a good idea to do the verify credentials before you start migrating any data there. Now, just while we're waiting for that, I want to bring up a point here when it comes to the pre-stage and full migration. It is recommended you do a pre-stage first, and that will just take all the data up to a certain day. And we normally say everything up to 30 days past. It means that it can be pre-staged in the target so that when you actually want to kick off a full migration, it happens a lot quicker, and it's not going to duplicate any data. Anything that's already migrated will not come across again, which is obviously good to happen. So really the best practice is do a pre-stage first, get everything done ahead of time, and then when you want to start cutting people over and cutting over these addresses, then you can do the full migration. But I'm going to show you both now. Once that verification has come back, then we can kick off our pre-stage. That's now completed, that verification, and that's successful, as you can see. So we're going to click on this one on the side here, and we're going to start that pre-migration as I described a bit earlier, and we will migrate everything up to 30 days backwards. So we'll say 30 days ago, like so, and hit the start migration. We'll go into that submitted stage, and we'll come back and see what it looks like once it's done. Have a look at what the target mailbox looks like once we've got that pre-stage organized for them. That's now completed that pre-stage. It's telling us it's migrated about 86 meg of mail. If we look at the target mailbox, we can see indeed, yes, it does have pre-staged information in there. Now this one is a brand new one. We only created that group mailbox today, so this is the welcome message that came in from there. That wasn't one of our migrated messages, but these ones are. These are the old ones that we've pre-staged, and so that is now done. So I'm going to move on now, if I drop that down, into kicking off the full migration, which we'll do just by clicking here and hitting start full migration, and that will then give us the option to schedule it for a particular time. If you'd like to, you can certainly do that, or we can just have it run immediately, which is what I'm going to do in this case. So we'll hit start migration and then come back in a short while once that's done and have a look at the mailbox again and see how it looks with the current mail in there too. So that's now completed. Let's have a look at our target mailbox. There, and yes, indeed, we can see there is the mail, which is the less than 30 days old, which is the full migration, which has now created that little delta copy for us. So we have a complete mailbox. We have everything from that normal mailbox, the M365 standard mailbox, into an M365 group mailbox. Now with that done, we can go and do some more if we need to, but I would recommend once you've finished all your migrations, go back and remove that application registration. It's good housekeeping just to get rid of that. And really that concludes our session. That's everything I needed to show you on this. So thank you and have a good day.